Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We got another Piers Morgan Uncensored. This one, Hateful Clown, Minnesota Somali fraud scandal, and as Piers Morgan calls out Valentina Gomez. Valentina Gomez, if you don't know, is this wonderful candidate.
It's that simple. Public executions for any illegal that rapes or kills an American. They don't deserve deportation. They deserve to be ended.
Boom. Right there. And I think that's not far enough. I think also American citizens who rape and kill others should also be gone. They should also get that treatment. Just saying. I just wanted to begin with that clip. Smash the like button and get subscribed if you're new here. And let's get into it.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care.
Vote for me so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas. I don't fear the groomers. I don't fear the pedophiles. I don't fear the corrupt politicians. And I definitely do not fear the dirty Muslims.
Valentina is just a bigot, plain and simple. And you can tell by looking at her that her IQ hovers around room temperature.
Room temperature like the entire Somalian population. Yeah, no. And depends on which room you're in. I'm up in Michigan. Our rooms are a lot lower temp.
Trump and Piers have killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer with his illegal strikes.
Dude, I've killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer, and I don't think I'm a bad guy.
The scale of the Minnesota fraud scandal is jaw-dropping by anyone's measure. More than $1 billion has been illicitly drained from welfare programs.
That's absolutely insane.
Of the Somali community. At least some of that money is thought to have ended up in the coffers of Islamist terror group Al-Shabaab. And some of the early attempts to investigate this mass fraud were reportedly silenced over fears of racism. We've seen the story
exactly. Wait, is he going to say it?
Comfortable echoes of a UK grooming scandal.
Yeah, the Pakistani rape gangs, the Afghani rape gangs,
were shamefully ignored over fears of stoking racial tensions.
The Iranian rape gangs.
To argue that every British
why does
rapist
why does every Muslim country just decide to rape everybody? I mean, when they immigrate to places, why is rape your preferred crime? Like, seriously, why you gotta violate someone like that? Can you just not get it? Are you that uncontrollable that you just have to go after women and rape them? Is it just something about you? And if it's your culture, great. Keep your culture over there, and if you enter ours, we should kill you. We should kill you for it if you do it.
It's really wrong to say that every one of the 16,000 Somalians in the US are thieves. That's why.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say all of them, but I think they said it was something like 85% of them are on some sort of welfare benefit, so at least 85% of them are not benefiting the American taxpayer, so I would call that thieves. If you're not paying into the systems to get something back out yourself later, and you're just taking from them, yeah, you're a thief. There's a lot of Americans who I would classify as thieves of the system. People who have just been stealing from us over the last years and decades. It's insane.
Many are unhappy with some of the rhetoric pouring from the White House.
I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars.
Yeah, they right now it's found at least 1 billion, but it's estimated that it could be upwards of $7 to $8 billion, which is insane.
Billions. Every year. Billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%.
Yep, 88%.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay?
I don't want them either.
Oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks.
Fun fact about Somalia: 5 years ago, rape was legal in their country. Yeah. Tell me about that. How is that anything of a group that we should just invite to our country to have them come join us if 5 years ago it was illegal for you to rape people in their country? That's not a good country. obviously some cultures are inferior, and I think we found one.
And we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too.
Yeah, there's a few others.
Well, anyone who thinks the president himself is an Islamophobe might want to check with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia or the Emir of Qatar. But there's
Exactly.
no doubt these words carry weight with the people who...
And Islamophobia, a phobia is something that is an irrational fear. There is, if you've checked out the words and you've done the research and you don't want Islam, there is no phobia because you are informed. There is no irrationality here. There is no Islamophobia. It doesn't exist. Islamophobia is literally a made-up thing. It's a myth.
Support him. And just as we saw in the aftermath of a National Guard terror attack carried out by an Afghan immigrant.
And that was
who worked for the
horrible.
CIA, many think it's now open season on all Muslims. Republican congressional candidate Valentina Gomez, who's listening in and joins us shortly, posted this.
Texas, I've officially filed to become your next congresswoman. So
Hell
this
yeah.
is yours. Vote for me so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas. For me, this is just an election. But for you and your daughter, this is your life. Because Texas has only gotten more Muslim under these weak Republicans. New York City already fell to Islam. So did Michigan and Minnesota.
Yep,
And you're next
Michigan
in
has
line.
fallen.
If Texas falls to Islam,
Michigan has fallen. We've got Dearborn. I'm going to let her
it's
finish.
simply because you didn't vote correctly. God bless you all.
There. Yeah, Michigan has fallen. We've got Dearborn, little Dearbornistan sitting right in the heart of, the heart of America. We're up here in the Rust Belt. We stopped building shit, and then the Muslims came and broke all of it. Now they're all sitting there putting mosques up everywhere, converting the city, moving in more, outbreeding us. And there's nothing that's going to stop them except forceful, violent removal. Because otherwise, if we go in and try to be like, oh yeah, sorry, you weren't supposed to be in, some of you are illegal, we have to take you out, they're going to get violent and remove us. I mean, they tried to plan an attack on Halloween night. They were calling it the Pumpkin Day attack. And the FBI thankfully stopped it and raided a house or a few houses and got I think it was 40,000 rounds of ammunition or 4,000 rounds. I might have an extra zero in there with the 40, but it was in a lot of ammo that they recovered and a lot of weapons. So yeah, it's not something to just ignore and pretend it'll go away. And if they were brave enough to attack on Halloween, Christmas is more pushed into your face as a holiday than Halloween ever was or will be. They might do something if they get fed up with how much Christmas is pushed in the U.S. Just keep your eyes out, your ears peeled, and stay safe all.
Well, many people who railed against woke identity politics, including myself, said they were doing so because they believe in a free market meritocracy. Judge people by what they do and not what they are. Stop dividing everybody into fighting factions based on skin colour or religion and claiming your team is under existential attack. Security and immigration is a separate debate, and we're going to have it in a moment. But I have a simple message for everybody now blaming every Muslim for every one of their problems. Stop being so woke.
Honestly, here's what I say about Muslims. If you were born as a Muslim and that is just you as your race, whatever. But if you are, following Islam, following the Quran as a man, I think you're a pedophile who's trying to find an easy way just to, fuck kids legally. And if you're a woman, you're retarded, because why would you voluntarily give up virtually all your rights if Sharia law actually got implemented wherever you live?
And we'll debate all this with my panel in a moment. But joining me now is Tricia McLaughlin, the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security. Welcome. First of all, there are lots of legitimate issues with immigration in the United States, as indeed there are in my country. And I've said this a few...
This video I mainly will focus for Valentina Gomez. So after his intro here, I am jumping ahead to, right before Valentina pops in here. We'll go 12:12.
With the Department of War on.
Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary of State for Public Affairs. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers.
Well, joining me to debate all of this is Rob O'Neill, the former US Navy SEAL who served extensively in Afghanistan and killed, of course, Osama bin Laden, the Republican candidate Valentina Gomez.
We love people who murder terrorists.
Plus author, activist, and attorney Qasim Rashid. Well, welcome to all of you. Rob O'Neill, great to have you back on Uncensored, as always.
Thank you for your service, Rob.
You served in Afghanistan. This is a complex issue, isn't it? Because there are many Afghanis who helped America in the war against the Taliban, for example, who then got brought back to the United States. And this can include translators or people who actually fought alongside Americans or whatever it may be, but who performed a valuable public service for America, who were brought back to the United States. And the fear about them is that in the light of this dreadful attack on the National Guard members, which was a clear terrorist attack by one of these people who's just gone rogue or maybe got radicalized. We just don't know yet the full story. But whatever it was, it caused him to commit double murder. In the process,
only one murder. The other,
through how this gets.
The guy Andrew, I believe was his name. He's still alive, but sadly, yes, he did. The Afghan, did murder Sarah. She did not make it, and that is tragic. I hate to be in a country today that actually has an American soldier who lost their life on our soil.
Resolved. There's a potential for a lot of these Afghanistan
without us being invaded as well.
They would face immediate threats to their lives and possible death.
Well, Piers, you said it correctly when I think the word you use is complex, because that's the simplest way to say it. It's very, very complex, and there's so many different avenues. When I think of guys that we worked with coming back here, I'm very familiar with that. When I was over there running an outstation in Jalalabad, Afghanistan, we were hiring locals, and I remember just, parts of Hearts and Minds is to, build the economy, hire electricians, hire plumbers, hire security, hire cooks. And I was explaining to one of my guys over there, I called him Larry. He was from Kabul. The thought of a Walmart, and I explained a Walmart to him, and he said, "Wait, you can get ice and milk in the same store?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can get ice, you can get milk, you can get your taxes done, your oil changed." I'm trying to explain to it, and it just blew his mind. The idea of a store where you can get everything is so beyond.
It's such a foreign idea.
People that are born in certain places capacity, that putting them in a place like the United States and without properly assimilating them is going to be a big problem just off the bat. This dude that allegedly committed the murder and the shootings would lock himself in blacked out spaces, all depressed, which I see that, not speaking the language, not being used to what you're doing here. It's not as simple as Iraq, Afghanistan. What's the difference? They helped us bring them over here. This is a major shift in them. And you need to keep in mind, men like that, a lot of them, they don't even know how old they are. All they know is violence their entire life. They've been fighting.
That is a very fair point. I mean, if you grew up, your country was at war, and your country has always been at war with this group here that's kind of been fighting anybody who comes near them, whether at one point was the Soviet Union, whether at another point it was their neighbor, one of the neighboring Muslim nations that just comes in, because they attack each other all the goddamn time.
Wars forever. They might resort to violence. A lot of stuff needs to be considered, not just thanks for helping us and try not to do the call to prayer 5 times a day. There's so much involved, and it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and not just shoot from the hip solutions. So I think that these are pretty much one of one every time.
Omar Badr, welcome back to Uncensored. Good to have you back. You just heard me speak to Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security. There's a lot of stuff going on here with the administration now in relation to the Somalians, with this issue in Minnesota, with relation to Afghanis because of the shooting of the National Guard members and so on. What is your overview about what is going on?
Yeah, Piers, we know this stuff pretty well when it's committed by people domestically. The overwhelming majority of mass shootings that occur in the United States are committed by white people. The person who shot Charlie Kirk, it's white.
I would love 100% of any shooting that occurs in the United States to be done by a legal United States citizen. At that point, we'll deal with it afterward. If any illegal immigrants are in the country, or even legal immigrants who are in the country and that they are not full citizens, any of those who are committing anything, immediate deportation if after anything happens. after your sentence, because I don't know if we can trust the country we send you back to hold you for that long.
People who shoot up schools on a regular basis, and we have the common sense to say we deal with these people individually. This is not reflective of the white community in America, and it doesn't mean that we have to take measures against the white community in the United States. We say what mental health factors, what ideological motivations. We deal with it with a level of nuance that makes sense. And we have an administration that simply traffics in bigotry. And so when you have...
Speaking of traffic, what happened to those 300,000 migrant children under Biden that went missing, huh? You want to talk about them?
An act of violence committed, in this case, the guy from Afghanistan, he was a recruit for CIA death squad.
And yes, he was. He was a recruit from the CIA.
Point. It's the death squad's part that...
I don't blame the United States for letting him in. I blame the United States for not following back up with the guy and making sure that he, wasn't gonna lapse out and kill anyone, making sure he was immigrating into the U.S. properly, and making sure he was pro-United States, that he was for the U.S. If you're not for the U.S., get the fuck out. Go somewhere you want to be pro. If you're pro-UK, go be in the UK. If you're pro-Canada, move to Canada. If you're pro-Mexico, move to Mexico. Be where you want to be. And if you're pro-America, and yet you're in America and you're complaining about it, then it doesn't sound like you're very pro-America, does it?
Makes people more inclined towards violence and makes them a risk, not the fact that he's Afghan. And to then take this particular incident and to generalize it about what threat Afghans might be posing or what threats Somalis might be posing or Muslims or whatever, that is bigotry 101. Basic elementary common sense can tell you that this is not how you deal with situations, and it's just incredibly disappointing and disheartening that we're living in a context in which people use that kind of bigotry to try to gain political advantage. People move people's emotions in a way that helps them take a political advantage. And it's extremely disappointing and the wrong way to go about things, especially if you're trying to build a strong, united country. You don't do it by dividing people like that.
Valentina Gomez, you were laughing as you were listening there. Many people have not been laughing at your video, particularly at phrases like "vote for me so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas." If you had a Muslim candidate in Texas saying "vote for me so we can kick every dirty Christian out of Texas," you would rightly, I imagine, be outraged at that. Why?
I would be outraged if someone was trying to kick Christians out of the United States, because we're a nation built on Christian values. Let's see what she says.
It's acceptable to use a phrase like "so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas"?
Good morning, Piers. And since you didn't have the decency of introducing me correctly, I'll happily do it. Good morning to all of my beautiful people in England. Hello to all of my lads in the UK. Last time I was there, I had an amazing time. I'm Valentina Gomez. I will be the next congresswoman for the state of Texas, and I'm a warrior of the one true King Jesus Christ. And England and Piers, the United States and England was built by white Christian men that follow Jesus Christ, not by a bunch of Muhammad. So let's get that cleared out right away.
Right, you haven't answered my question. Why do you, if it was the other way around, you would be rightly outraged. Why do you think it's acceptable as somebody running for office in the United States to be so blatantly, why would you be so blatantly hateful towards one group of people?
You call it hateful and bigotry and racist and all of that garbage. I call it the truth. America is a Christian nation. These Muslims come to Christian nations, burn our churches, rape our women, shoot our American soldiers point blank, killing one of them in broad daylight, then chanting Allahu Akbar. Piers, my brother is a National Guardsman. He literally puts himself on the line for this nation. So yes, these dirty Muslims have no place in America and have no place in England.
But
yeah, like she said, that her brother's a guardsman. That guardsman that's in the hospital, who is not in great shape, but at least he's alive right now. He could be her brother, or her brother could have been the girl Sarah who was killed. Imagine it. Imagine that as your family member now. Now take that into consideration.
You see, I'm just seeing a brazen Islamophobe, and people say that phrase doesn't exist. It doesn't, and I'm sure you find it funny, but I think you can make perfectly pertinent points about what's happened here without descending into such vile hatred towards an entire religion. And there are 5 million
Piers,
Muslims in the United States. Why would you want to categorize them in such a grotesque manner?
Oh, and those 5 million Muslims should definitely go back to their 56 Muslim nations. And let's get something very clear right now in your little show, Piers. I don't fear the groomers. I don't fear the pedophiles. I don't fear the corrupt politicians. And I definitely do not fear the dirty Muslims.
Let me bring in...
Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
No.
We should be clear about the fact. I mean, sure, Valentina is just a bigot, plain and
No,
simple,
she isn't.
engages in the worst kinds of bigotry imaginable. But it's worth noting that she's fundamentally un-American because the American
Not at all. What's he going to say about it?
Constitution says that you cannot discriminate against people based on religion. That is pretty clear. And so she's engaging in an anti-American campaign in the name of protecting America, which is just irony beyond imagination. So yes, she's a charlatan. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You can tell by looking at her that her IQ hovers around room temperature. To me, the real scandal is
Higher than yours, buddy.
because she's beneath taking seriously. But the problem is with the GOP that you have a major party in this country having a candidate running under its flagship, engaging in this kind of really incredibly hateful, incendiary rhetoric, and they do nothing about it. We've seen it with the dissent with Donald Trump himself, with the lawlessness that he has brought to the table and the corruption that he's allowed to get away with, without the party really standing up and putting country before party and before president. And you can see that slippery slope now leading to this level, where you have just a complete hateful clown like this person representing that party without the party objecting to it.
Yeah, you know what?
Leading us towards a very, very dark place in this country.
I actually completely.
All right.
I completely agree with you. There are perfectly
Let's make,
legitimate.
no, Piers. And to
Well,
the
I
other
do.
Muslims,
I actually do agree with him.
absolutely not.
I think
Let's
your
make something
your
very
brazen
clear. No,
bigotry
let's
is
make
obvious.
let's make something very clear, Piers.
Yeah.
I only discriminate against terrorists. These terrorists have no place in America. They have no place in the world. And the best type of terrorist is a dead terrorist. And let's look at your Quran. Your Quran 8:12 states to terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. And that Afghani, that dirty Muslim that killed Sarah Beckstrom.
It doesn't actually say that, and this is the problem.
And Andrew Wolf, who is
All right, let me
fighting
bring in Kasim
Yeah,
Rashid. Welcome to Uncensored. If you'd like to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I co-sign everything Omar said there. And I think fundamentally this is where we are as a country, where rather than talking about real serious issues, we have these firebrands. I think she ran in Missouri, got 7%, moved to Texas to try to lose there as well. Look, the reality is that, we need to look.
I mean, if you want to take people who keep moving around the country, I will give you the couple Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, who went and moved from, what was her home state? I can't remember her home state, but I know it wasn't Texas, and she tried running in her home state too, and it didn't go so well. So if you want to take examples, buddy,
at the facts.
You got one on the other side
tell
too.
Us that immigration is a net positive in every single way to this country. The facts.
And here's why I don't like Islam. Look what Islam has done to the traditional outfits of women in any country for Islam. India, Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, the UAE, Yemen, Egypt, Pakistan, Iran, Somalia, Malaysia. Like all of these countries, now you're covered up. Now you can't do anything. You can't wear what would have been normal to wear before Islamic control. Like, you need to figure out everything there.
A Northwestern University study of the last 150 years found that at no point in American history have immigrants had a higher crime rate than born U.S. citizens. We're talking about Somalia, and we're talking about Minnesota. Well, Minnesota is the 4th best state in the country to start a business and to live and to work. It's the 15th safest state in the country as well. And so,
is it?
The difference here
is it now? Or is that because they don't report their crime statistics properly, so their numbers are fucking fudged?
Want the constitutional principles of due process of law to apply. And this, this idea that we're a Christian nation is contradicted by the founders of this country itself. We are actually a secular democratic republic where people can believe or not believe as they wish without oppression. And I think it's critically important that whatever our, political differences, we stand united on this basic principle that human dignity,
I mean, we have several different things across America that are very, we are God, and I'm going to let him open his eyes. We are God followed and focused, and the fact that he doesn't realize that should show you that he's not here to join and be a part of America. He's here to take over. Whoops, wrong one. Where did it go? There it is. Yeah, right here. I mean, oh, come on. Right there. Does this look like... Whoops, audio. Does this look like some people who are trying to assimilate, or people who are trying to, invade? And, they are doing this, as the caption says, they're in front of a pork restaurant. And, they are not trying to come in. This is where you choose to not accept this. These are Muslim immigrants in Japan, and from what I hear, Japan will not take this one. They are going to slap this down. Just ask what the samurai levels of discipline used to be, and you'll realize, Japan is not going to just sit down and take this.
Rights, religious freedom must be protected, even for those with whom I disagree, because at the end of the day, that's what the First Amendment requires, that's what the Constitution requires. If we lose that principle, then we deteriorate into fascism and anarchy, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Rob O'Neill, what do you feel about this? I do feel that rhetoric matters when we talk about these things. I do think that some of the language we've just heard from one of the other panelists is outrageous, appalling, disgusting, bigoted. It just should be called out for what it is, whether you're on the left or right. It makes a difference to me. But what do you feel about this? I just feel these debates should be had without descending into blanket bigotry.
Well, debates should be had, but I also believe in the First Amendment. You should be able to say whatever you want.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but that gives me the right to call it out.
Well, it's designed to protect speech you hate, and I would much rather someone be telling me exactly how they feel than people in Washington tell me what I think I need to hear and then go behind my back and commit massive fraud. I want to hear. You can say whatever you want. Someone who's been canceled, myself, say what you want, but deal with the consequences as they come, justified or not. That's just how it is. But the conversation is needed. Even on forgive me, but one of the guests called the Afghan part of a death squad is someone who spent a lot of time with this particular pursuit team, but they were actually called the counterterror pursuit team. I don't know. We don't have death squads, so that's ridiculous. That's violent rhetoric right there itself. But he should be able to say it just when people like me who have been places like that realize
freedom of speech
doesn't know what he's talking about.
Freedom of speech means freedom to say what you want in your country about whatever you want. Now, there are some consequences to saying certain things, but for right now, everything everybody here has said is perfectly fine.
But anyway, but again, the conversations do need.
I might not agree with a couple of them, but
every religion, every color,
everything's fine.
Then, if your only defense is Islamophobe, racist, name calling, that's nothing either.
No, but I agree. Listen, I've seen it for example, with the war in Gaza. That anyone who criticizes, as I have done increasingly in the last year,
I'm happy he calls it war in Gaza instead of using the G word, because it isn't.
Defend themselves and always supported the state of Israel to exist, but notwithstanding that.
Yeah, Israel can exist. I don't think America should be using our might to defend it as much as we do. I do say take into the point of view of when Iran was throwing 300 missiles and drones at Israel, and we had our F-35s up and some of our pilots up there defending. I will say it was pretty funny, just basically saying, send up some pilots and have them play target practice. There's so many projectiles, you have no excuses for missing now. The fighter makes it easy to intercept.
If you criticize the Israeli government, immediately you get branded now an anti-Semite, which I think is absurd. So I think you've got to take what people say and you've got to analyze it, and you've got to accept that criticizing an institution or a government for decisions they take, particularly in war, doesn't make you hateful of the people. It was interesting. I thought you posted something which Donald Trump reposted, Rob, which I'd love you just to expand on.
Sure.
You said in relation to the murder of the two National Guard members, if you've never been to Afghanistan, you wouldn't understand it. If you showed these people an espresso machine and gave them free coffee, they would assume you were a witch and chop your head off, but let's bring them in. Now, that's created, as you know, a lot of furore. What exactly did you mean?
Well, I mean, that's obviously tongue in cheek, and I actually I used X for purely entertainment, and
of course.
What the point I was
As
making?
you should.
I have been to places like the Petra
You can use
Valley
it for
in
entertainment
Afghanistan,
and
where there's
news,
families from the
but
Syriac
entertainment
Valley, the Korangal
should be the
Valley,
main
who've
priority
probably
to
been
social
living next
media.
to each other for 10,000 years. But if you make a mistake as someone from the Syriac going to the Korangal, they're going to cut your head off. This is a very serious place, and the vast majority of Westerners have no idea what they're talking about. Northeastern Afghanistan, northwestern Pakistan, the federally administered tribal area. These are not places like here. If you just grab people like that and say, hey, you're an American, you're going to get what happened here because of the violence and not understanding. The point I was making, I showed a dude, we were going to rescue Marcus Luttrell. I showed a dude from the Syriac Valley, his own village, the first time he'd ever seen an iPad or an aerial shot. I might as well have showed him the face of Muhammad itself. The guy, he physically couldn't handle the technology I was showing him. A lot of these people can't physically handle the Western culture until they're properly assimilated. That was my point, peppered with humor.
Exactly.
It's a very familiar
And
story with the code Piers. And on the wider point about who the United States should let in, Rob.
At the moment, I don't think we should let anybody in legally, illegally, at all. We need to deal with what we have inside the U.S. first, and we need to deal with the housing crisis before we bring in more people to try to have to house.
What is your view of that? I mean, obviously America was founded in a very multicultural way, right? It was the place that everyone
primarily European, though.
America wasn't founded by grabbing a bunch of dudes from other countries, bringing them here, giving them free apartments and welfare. It was by people who wanted to escape religious persecution.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the people who came to America in those days, they paid to get onto a boat. They paid money to leave. They were like, I am going to risk my life and sail across this ocean for 3-ish months and make it to the New World. Hopefully I won't die along the way and get sick, or have everybody else get sick, or hopefully a storm doesn't take the boat down in the middle of the way there. Like, those people were brave. They weren't just people who were showing up and getting free stuff given, because when they got there, they didn't just get to go, oh, here's a place to rest. Good night. We'll deal with you in the morning. No, they had to get there, and they were, all right, now it's time to get shit set up. All right, we got a temporary shelter for the night. Okay, that's up. All right, now we got to build our house, build our cabin. We got to go chop down stuff. Like, they actually had to work for everything back then. After a while, infrastructure got built, roads were created, and they probably did have places that you could just move in and stay real quick after arriving. But I guarantee you that wasn't the early on in the settling that people are assuming and talk about.
And they started building things, not just coming here getting
people need to learn their history.
I've been a lot of places and I've seen a lot of people, and I mean, some of the most welcoming people I've met were in a war zone in Ramadi. Like, I've seen it, and you can't just say these people bad, these people good. The conversations need to be had, but again, you need to be realistic. And as soon as the truth is told and you don't like it, you just say racist. You're not going to build anything up.
Let's talk about the truth there, Piers. I got to jump in here. When we talk about the founding of America, it was founded by European colonizers, built on the backs of enslaved Africans and on the genocide of indigenous
It wasn't built on the back of enslaved Africans, otherwise only 8% of the country was constructed. And I don't think 8% of the country built the other percentage, especially the north of the country that wasn't very pro-slavery versus the south that was very pro-slavery. You tell me which one has more economic and industrial might.
To claim that it wasn't,
just tell the winner of the Civil War that at
the
least.
The Homestead Act, which was finally repealed in 1987, gave hundreds of millions of acres of free land to white European immigrants while denying them to the descendants of enslaved Africans. And so even to this day, the single demographic, the largest demographic on public welfare are white Americans. And studies have...
Hey, sir, can you name a single black African today who was enslaved? Can they tell me if they know if their ancestors were enslaved? A guarantee.
Been done on this.
What about the 6,000 slaves that died building the World Cup venues for the Middle East in 2020?
Yeah, that too.
And we condemn that too. And that's the
modern
difference between
slavery right now. Don't throw that slavery to the United States. We didn't invent it. We were one of the first.
Yeah, America is the country that has attempted over its course of its history, going from, we had slaves to, we're trying to end slavery worldwide, you fuck. I mean, there's that little thing about our president currently. Yes, come here, Blaze. Our president, making good deals with good deals with Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, and Qatar basically paying for our military, as in giving us basically $1 trillion worth of investment, which is kind of insane when you put it in that perspective. But hey, if they're going to pay for our shit, as long as we own the military perspective anyway. And also there's the people who are going to go, oh yeah, but now they got a base in the U.S. Wrong, it's not a Qatar base. It's a Qatar training facility on an American air base, because we want them to train with our equipment in a controlled, safe environment rather than just willy-nilly where they could crash something if we just handed them over a batch of fighters.
The difference between me and you, I have no problem condemning that slavery by Qatar during the World Cup. I have zero.
Why don't you lead with that? That was the most recent.
Why are we not holding them accountable? The difference is that I want there to be accountability and restitution there, but there is no accountability and restitution or reparations for the enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered genocide. And we rewrite this history. Well,
who sold those black slaves primarily? If you look it up, about 90% of all slaves were sold by blacks and Africans. It is an insanely large percentage. So don't even try to pull the white people were slavers card. Not even that much. We were far better to our slaves majorly than most other countries and people have been historically.
We built up our bootstraps. No, you didn't. You built up on the backs of enslaved Africans. And to the comment that Islam is new to America.
Because if African slaves built America, why the fuck doesn't Africa look like America, or better then?
And murdered and raped. This is the legacy of this country, and for us to move forward.
It's the legacy of the world, bro. The legacy of the world. Slavery's been everywhere, and it still exists in the Middle East.
Yeah,
hasn't been here in a while. Hundreds of thousands of Americans died again.
If you're having difficulty hearing me, I can
too many voices.
I'm not defending that slavery. You're defending the legacy of slavery here in the United States. That's the fundamental difference between us.
I'm defending the United States because everybody in the world's trying to get here, because whatever we did works. It's the greatest country in the world. That's what I'm doing, dude.
With a known war criminal.
War criminal? Is that what he thinks of our American hero? The man who ended the architect behind the 9/11 bombing, an attack of, or 9/11 terror attack in the World Trade Center? Who cares if part of it was being planned inside job? 2 planes did crash into the towers. That is very, very clear. I've seen every angle, every footage. I've seen it happen from space. I've seen it happen from a distance. I've seen it happen from the ground, up close. I've seen it. I've seen all the videos. I'm a person online in 2024 at 5, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I've seen it.
Trying to lecture me. I'm agreeing. We shouldn't be supporting those people. My question to you is, why do you continue to support a president who is rubbing elbows with MBS, who, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth have killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer with these illegal strikes, which are clearly a violation of international law.
Let me ask. Hang on, please. Let me ask Robert.
Yeah, Obama administration killed more terrorists than anything else, and they actually had more civilian casualties than any other administration. So if you want to pull those strings, we can pull them.
Hang on, please. I want to ask, since you raised it, I want to ask Rob, given your outstanding service to your country, what do you make of these strikes on these Venezuelan boats? I mean, the argument, as you know, of people who are highly concerned about this is
there's no war crimes.
No evidence provided to the American people that they were all members of these gangs.
My biggest part of you don't fish by submarine. If you were fishing and you were actually doing it, you would make it as obvious as you could to the United States military out in those waters that you are not out there to harm them or to send drugs to America. You are fishing. I am fishing. Here is my nets. Here is my fishing rod. I am not here for you. Just pretend I'm not even here, is what you would be acting like. You would not be gunning for the United States as fast as you fucking could in a straight line. Like, come on. It's obvious.
One. And secondly, in the most recent one, there appears to have been a double attack with people being attacked while they were in the water, and that is a breach of Geneva Convention. What is your view of both those?
Geneva Convention requires the countries to actually be at war and them to be uniformed military combatants. These are insurgents. These are equivalent to insurgents. They're cartel members. They are not Venezuelan military, so no war crimes can even be talked about, which is the thing no one's even bringing up.
Issues.
Well, my view is, first of all, I wasn't there, so I can't say from firsthand knowledge. I'm going off of my experience. And if these are designated terrorist organizations, hitting them with a drone strike is
fully within the rights of the legal authorization of the president.
That too. And in all my experience with drone strikes, it's never hit them once, and if they live, it's like, oh, whoopsie poopsie, you got to live. You hit them again, I think. I'm assuming I wasn't there, but I believe it's called delegated authority kill missions. That's what I'm thinking. If they're terrorists and they're going to kill 100,000 people a year with the fentanyl they're bringing in, I don't have a problem with that. But again, I'm not in the chain of command. If they're doing it legally, I don't think it's a problem. We do it everywhere in the world. We killed an American, Anwar al-Awlaki, in 2011 in Yemen in a drone strike. He wasn't convicted by a jury. Then we killed his son 2 weeks later. President Obama was in charge, so not a lot of hullabaloo about that. But because now
no one wanted to worry about that one.
We're in our hemisphere here, and because you got
to
figure
when Obama does it.
These drugs coming from South America, eking their way up through the United States, up near the Chicago area, some of the Great Lakes for distribution. Someone's involved somewhere. Just follow the money. And the previous point too about bringing up Jeffrey Dahmer, dude, I've killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer, and I don't think I'm.
That's not the high bar.
The truth is, we need the truth is we need more.
There's a big difference.
Let me bring in. I want to bring in Omar, if I may. I want to bring in Omar. Omar, let's talk about a wider issue here. Like in the UK, we have as many Muslims, if not more now, than in the whole of the United States. So,
well, yeah, your UK population is now only 33% of what it used to be 50 years ago. 50 years ago, you had 100% British people and 0% Muslims. Now you have like 60% Muslims and other populations melding in there, and you're losing what it means to be British.
Proportionate. I mean, by comparison, for example, in the United States, there are 4 to 5 million Muslims and 4 to 5 million Jews. In the UK, there are about 5 million Muslims and 250,000 Jews. So it's a different dynamic to what is going on in the country. And the concern in my country, which has always been very tolerant, I think very multicultural, very well assimilated in the main, the concern comes from people who look at reports, verified reports, that there are now nearly 100 unofficial Sharia law courts, for example, operating in the UK. In other words,
which is insane.
A group of people, in this case a Muslim community, operating their own law within our framework of our law.
Yeah, and some of those laws completely are opposite of what your British UK laws are.
I mean, should countries like the United States,
you should not tolerate that.
Tolerate the existence of rival courts, rival law within their own border?
No,
Piers,
zero. There should be no more than. By starting this way, he's going to give you a nothing answer. I can already tell you that. But the answer to his question should be a simple, quick no. Other countries and other people should not just be bringing their law and their enforcement of their law into it. Otherwise, you may wind up with something like a cult clashing with law enforcement.
A quick comment on those strikes and the mention of Obama. There's no question that Obama did, in fact, engage in unlawful strikes, and people should object to them when he kills an American citizen abroad with those drone strikes. And what Trump has done is just escalated that to a worse level. With Obama, again, not defending his policy, it's indefensible and should be condemned, nonetheless struggling with the idea, is this person a threat? Are people going to die if we don't engage in that strike? Those are the kind of calculations he's engaging in. And frankly, he should have erred on not engaging in extrajudicial killings. But in the case of Trump, there's not even the pretense of that. He declared these organizations terrorists so he can justify this war. We're bombing boats that we don't know anything about. We don't have any confirmation that they're in fact engaged in drug smuggling. And even if we did, we have no sense of why anybody who's on board would be in fact a threat and could not be apprehended and put on trial. So we engage in these strikes and then we kill them when people are hanging on these boats who are injured and obviously pose no threat. I think this is just utterly grotesque abuse of power and use of violence for the sake of using violence, completely unjustifiable and for alternative political ends. So I just want to put that out. Now, on the question of Sharia courts, certainly they should not supersede the actual laws of the country.
But they are.
They
shouldn't be there, but they are superseding the law.
Consensually.
That's what Islam wants.
There are certain things with Jewish law as well and many others. But ultimately, the law of the country is what should reign supreme. And if there are people who want to have the result heard, nobody should be able to impose that court in lieu of the actual law taking place and impose that on somebody else. So it's a matter of what the jurisdiction is of these courts. They should never supersede existing law, and I don't think that they do. I think these are completely consensual courts that people enter to resolve their religious disputes if they all parties agree that this is how they want to resolve their issues.
Valentina Gomez.
Sharia courts have no place in England. Sharia courts have no place in Christian nations. That's why you guys have 56 Muslim nations. And I fully support and love what President Trump and Pete Hegseth are doing. We need to bomb more narco-terrorism into oblivion. That's the reality. You defend terrorism.
Hell yeah.
You're probably a little terrorist yourself as well. That's the reality.
Why would you say that?
Why would I say what?
Why do you use language like that? Why do you brand a fellow panelist who's actually a respected journalist a terrorist?
Someone who is defending terrorists? Someone who is
defending
terrorism? Drugs into the United
he hasn't
States
defended terrorism. Only one, just to be clear, Valentina Gomez, I've had 3 reasonable members of this panel offering reasonable arguments.
Reasonable.
All I've heard from you so far is dumb bigotry, accusations of terrorism against people who are just perfectly ordinary journalists. There's something wrong with you. Why do you do this?
Sounds like you during COVID, Piers. You were
it does.
And trying to destroy people for not wanting to take the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
You tried to destroy.
And you know what? I was wrong.
And
anybody else still unvaxxed?
Yeah. And you still are wrong today.
Same.
Well, you don't become less wrong. I've admitted I was wrong. I've apologized. What I've not seen from you, is any admission of being wrong or an apology for the disgusting.
Because she's not wrong.
Why do you do it?
No apology is needed. She's not wrong. Everything she said is a very true statement.
I apologize for nothing. My statements and my actions have endured the test of time. And Piers, since you cut me off, let me
By the way, for those who are wondering, she's 26 years old.
finish. You've been on national television for 20 years, and during that entire time, England has only gotten more Muslim. For 20
when
years,
were you last in England?
To even say faggot or to even call out the rapist Muslims. Piers, you're not uncensored. The truth is, you have been complicit.
He's Piers
with
Morgan
the rape
censored.
Of England into its submission. It's
Really?
not only on Keir Starmer, it's also on you, on
Really?
the police and the
Yep,
courts.
I agree
that have
with her.
covered up for their crimes. Absolutely. And I'll say
Really?
what everybody else is thinking. England is better off without all the Muslims. And that goes the same way to the United States. We can solve all of our problems if these Muslims are sent back to their Sharia nations, because they're not here to
Oh, really? You
assimilate
think there would be
to
no
the
problems?
American or the
You think
British.
you'd have no?
Piers, let me
You think
finish.
you'd have
Let me
no?
finish,
Just to be
George.
clear.
Let me finish,
Just to be
Piers.
no. I'll tell you what. You finish.
Piers, I'll
You finish. You
They're
said.
not here to
You said what you want to
assimilate
say.
To the American or
You
the
said what you
British
want
way
to
of
say.
life.
Yeah, you see, this has been my suspicion.
Okay.
Because the last time you were here, you were at a Tommy Robinson march. And this has been my problem with Tommy Robinson.
Oh, yes.
No, yeah, not that Tommy Robinson wasn't right to expose the grooming gangs. He was. The problem is that he and many of his followers, like you, actually hate Muslims. You're actual genuine Islamophobes. You would like them all removed
Muslims,
from the
they belong in
country.
their Muslim nations. That's the thing. They're just obsessed with coming to Christian nations, burning our flag, chanting death to America, killing our American soldiers. So yes, they belong in their Muslim nations. Piers, let me finish what I said. These Muslims are not here to assimilate to the American or
They are
British way
here
of
to
life.
invade and take over.
Perfectly well.
No, they do not.
Only contribute
Not
to
the
rape
majority.
statistics and terrorist attacks.
Really? And you don't think any white?
Absolutely.
You don't think any white?
It's like, why do you wonder why 85-90% of the Muslims that are arriving in the country are between the age of 20 and 35, aka military-aged men, and they are all just coming in, and then when you give them a place of worship, aka you build a mosque, and you let them go there, all of a sudden, you find them, with their hands down in the middle of the fucking road. There was a post I saw just yesterday from people going down one of the roads in New York. And it's like, this is insane. This should stop. This is not where you're supposed to worship. In fact, I think if you're found doing that, you should either A, if you're in the road, maybe get run over because natural selection and Darwinism want to help. However, we're a civilized society, so I think someone should walk up and kick you in the head and tell you go to your fucking mosque.
Christians commit any crime in the UK.
And that's the civilized way of dealing with it.
They do, and we deal with them.
Well, we do the same with Muslims who commit crimes.
No, you don't. No,
yes,
you
we
don't,
do.
Piers. That's why you have a huge Pakistani, a Muslim, a
That
dirty
was a
Muslim
disgusting
scandal
scandal.
going on
Yeah,
in the
you know
UK.
what? You know what? On that
Now
point, you're absolutely right. The British Pakistani grooming scandal,
They're not British.
abuse scandal.
They're Pakistani.
Well, you can use any terminology.
They're not British.
Use mine, which is the
They're
correct
just
terminology.
Pakistani or Afghani or Iranian or, you know, input any other. I bet you there's Somalian in there too.
That scandal was disgusting. It was actually exposed by a journalist who I knew on the Times, who did
Tommy
some
Robinson.
extraordinary work.
Yep.
Tommy Robinson amplified it,
Helped.
but it was exposed by a journalist on the Times newspaper.
Because of Tommy Robinson,
and it was covered up in a
Correct.
disgraceful manner that shamed
Thank you,
my country,
Valentina.
right? And I'm very happy to agree about that point. But it doesn't mean that every Muslim of the 5 million Muslims in my country are somehow complicit with those disgusting monsters. In the same way that when a white Christian commits a heinous crime, I don't assume that every white Christian is the same. Why would you?
Piers, you can take the Muslim out of a terrorist nation, but you cannot take the terrorism out of a Muslim. And give me one example of a Christian committing a terrorist attack right now against Muslims.
Let me ask you then, when the UK...
She doesn't want to pull too hard on that. There were those things called the Crusades. It might be time for another one, though.
And the United States illegally invaded Iraq in 2003.
We didn't illegally invade Iraq, and in fact, that invasion really only took 22 days.
To campaign against that. So what would you say about that illegal invasion of a Muslim country?
Muslims are killing Christians in Nigeria, Piers.
Right. So
they're doing it in Nigeria. They're doing it in Sudan. They're doing it in every single Muslim nation. If you're in a Muslim nation and you're not Muslim, they're going to kill you in there for it. And to be 100% honest, they're at the right for it. That's what they've made. Their laws, their rules, their everything. Just like the Christian who tried to travel out to that one uncontacted tribe with a Bible in a canoe by himself, and he basically tried to show him religion, and then they fucking murdered him. I fully agree. They're in the right for that. That Christian guy was in the wrong. I will call it out on both sides. However, while the Bible does try to encourage us to, invite others and join us, unlike Muslims in the Quran, if you don't join us, we're not required to kill you for it.
I asked you about Iraq.
Iraq? Well, repeat your question again, please.
Do you agree that we illegally invaded Iraq in 2003? I don't think she was
right enough to understand your question, Piers.
I don't think she does. I don't think she wants to understand it. But in 2003, we, in my opinion, illegally invaded Iraq, a sovereign country. A million people died. It created ISIS, which then wreaked mayhem for 2 decades. And was a stain on my country and on the Prime Minister Tony Blair, who I think should have been held up in a court of law over what happened under my name and the name of the British people. But do you care about that? Do you care that 1 million people, including hundreds of thousands of Muslims, were killed in a war in Iraq, which in my opinion was fought on an illegal false pretext that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, which he didn't, it turned out.
Piers, in 2003, I was 4 years old, and I cannot change what happened back then.
No, I asked you for your opinion.
I
asked you for your opinion.
They can bomb every terrorist country they want.
Your
That's the
intellect has
reality.
not grown a year since then.
That the Taliban, ISIS,
you still think
they
like
all
a
come from the
4-year-old.
Middle East. But then they're obsessed. Yes, I'm honest. And
very false of the initial invasion. Estimated only 7,400 Iraqi civilian deaths, and between 11,000 and 45,000 Iraqi combatant deaths, while coalition forces, American and NATO forces, only sustained 172 deaths. So I don't know where he's getting these hundreds of thousands, 500,000 numbers from. Those I'm like, that's very false. That doesn't sound right. And I was correct. That was very wrong.
I am the American dream on
Total
I have worked my way to
with
the top.
everything in the Middle East due to that was closer to 500,000.
You're not the American dream.
I don't blame that on the Americans.
You're somebody fomenting hatred towards an entire community in your country. And I don't understand why you need to do that.
They belong in their Muslim nations, Piers. That's the reality.
What's that?
Yeah, they belong in their Muslim nations because they come to America and then they say, oh, America sucks. Death to America. America sucks. My nation that I came from is great. And then when we say, hey, go back there, they're like, no, it sucks there. I'm going to go you belong here, where I can tell you to fuck yourself.
They belong in their Muslim nations.
Really?
Piers. That's the reality.
So would you deport every single?
You could be a leader for the UK,
so just to be clear, then you would deport. You would deport. Just to be clear, you would deport every Muslim from the US and the UK, would you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with her.
Chips. That's not really my big.
I fully agree with her. Let me know what you think down below if you made it this far.
Bags before I buy them all. That's what you are. You're just a bigot.
This is the kind of
Genocidal
genocidal rhetoric.
This isn't bigotry.
We have
any
asylum in
person
this
in the
country.
United States, I am the only one.
Why do you need to seek asylum? Is it because your great Muslim nation isn't so great? Did they threaten to harm you in your country? Are they causing the death of certain your friends and neighbors? Is that so great?
That has the guts to say it.
There's nothing courageous about being.
You shouldn't have to seek asylum if your nation is supposedly
the United
great.
Kingdom needs to grow a pair of balls and have some guns.
Actually, I'm very glad the United Kingdom doesn't have anybody like you.
Piers.
Omar, yeah. Not too long ago.
I think that Valentina has given away how little she knows or understands about the world.
Valentina, let Omar speak, please. Omar.
All right, Omar, go ahead.
I mean, again, she has given away how dumb she is with this challenge of name somebody else who's committed an act of terrorism. I mean, everybody in the United States is familiar with cases of Christian extremists blowing up abortion clinics. We know that there is a problem with child soldiers in parts of Africa, of Christian child soldiers. We know there's a problem with a Jewish fanatic in Montana at one point who shot a bartender over a non-kosher drink. We know that there is cases of Jewish fanatics in Israel stabbing people at a gay pride parade. And we see the fanatics who are right now engaging in this onslaught in Gaza, religiously motivated. But all of us have the basic decency and common sense.
There is no onslaught in Gaza, buddy. The onslaught in Gaza is done by Hamas right now. They're murdering their people. And yet you don't talk about it because that makes you sound bad.
Rush and say that this is representative of the entire Jewish community or the entire Christian community. And the same logic applies perfectly in this case. But she's literally so clueless. She's under this fanatical impression that only Muslims commit acts of violence. And frankly, I appreciate you standing up for me, Piers, in this case. But to have somebody this dumb and hateful and to not be insulted by them on a program would take away.
Hang on 1 second. I just want this. Oh man, it's not a good shot.
My sense of dignity and self-respect.
I thought I had a good thumbnail, but the Navy SEAL guy, SEAL Team 6 man, was not looking at the camera. So.
I always go back to the data, and what the data repeatedly tells us is that our policies now are based on lessons learned from history. After World War II, after Jewish people suffered the atrocities of the Holocaust, millions murdered by Hitler in the Holocaust.
Yes, 6 million.
Hey, we should have allowed Jewish people to enter and seek refuge here before this atrocity occurred. And hence the asylum system was established so that people could come here fleeing their lives for safety, to go through a thorough vetting process, and then be admitted to this country. The Cato Institute did a phenomenal study on this and found that you can count literally on one hand how many asylum seekers have actually caused harm or violent harm to the United States. Literally on one hand. That's not an exaggeration. This is a conservative think tank, mind you. They calculate that the chances of an American being killed by an asylum seeker is 1 in 4 billion. That, by the way, is about 4,000 times less likely than to suffer a mass shooting or a shooting in this country. And that's the real issue, right? We have 380 mass shootings, predominantly, almost all by Christian and predominantly by men. But we don't demonize all Christians for this. We don't demonize all men for this. We recognize that there's a specific issue that we need to have a thoughtful, fact-based solution to. And we build better gun safety legislation around that. Immigration has to work the same way. We recognize that our immigration system is not functional, it's unjust, it's broken. And we solve that not by just demonizing.
I don't think I have 13,000 fingers, buddy, on one hand. ICE has reported about 13,000 non-citizens with homicide convictions. So yeah, there's 13,000 in the U.S. minimum that have killed people. So what he just said is a lie and false. Try again. I can't count them on one hand, the amount of asylum seekers that have killed people.
Having a more thorough, more robust vetting system, a more thorough, robust immigration system, more immigration judges.
Yeah, and once we get that much tougher immigration system, the next thing you're going to complain about, buddy, is the immigration system is too hard to get through, so we need to bust in illegally.
More attorneys to process these claims. I've done this work for 15 years. I've worked with Afghan refugees and asylees for decades, and what I'm here to tell you is that they want the exact same thing that every person in the United States want: peace and safety. Nobody wanted the U.S. to invade them. Nobody wanted the Taliban to take over. Nobody asked Donald Trump to release 5,000 Taliban terrorists into the field as part of his negotiation tactics, which was atrocious. These are ordinary human beings. And the fact, and again, the data, I come back to that, tells us that you can literally count on one hand how much harm has been caused. In reality, we need to find ways to work together and build a stronger union that way.
Okay, let me ask Rob O'Neill.
The Muslim wants to bring
sorry,
more Muslims into the
Valentina,
United
your name
States.
isn't Rob
Why
O'Neill.
Imagine that.
I'm asking Rob O'Neill a question. You're not Rob O'Neill. And
Yeah,
you never will be
go
Rob
to the
O'Neill,
56
by the way.
Muslim
In
nations.
any capacity. Rob O'Neill, the White House put out a video using a Sabrina Carpenter hit as the backdrop to videos of immigration raids. Now, she responded on X by saying, "This video is evil and disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda." So there's an argument there between her and the White House over use of her music. But in that point, which I mentioned earlier, Rob, where I do think there's almost universal agreement that the clampdown on the southern border has been incredibly successful and is the right thing to do.
100%. And anything less should be considered treason against the United States. Anything less than what is being done on that border right now.
It's good for national security. It's good to reinforce the fact that America has a strong border. And most Americans I've talked to say if someone's undocumented in the United States and they commit a crime, that's not about
if someone's undocumented, period, not even if they commit a crime, guess what? They committed a crime coming in. So they should go home. They should be deported. In fact, I think if you're illegal in the country, you should self-deport right now, take the $1,000 per person who self-deports, leave, and never come back. That way we can clean up the mess left behind by you.
Then they should be deported. The disagreement is coming where the majority of Americans who are being polled feel very uneasy about the spectacle of ICE raids on people who may have been in the country 10 years, brought up kids there, had kids in America, have a job, pay taxes, contribute to society.
Yeah, I am going to say on this one with Piers, I don't care how long they've been here. In fact, the longer they've been here, in my eyes, the worse it is. You have had, 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, to some 30 years to gain citizenship. You've been here longer than I've been alive, and you're not a legal citizen. You deserve to be doubly deported. Go back to your hometown, and then maybe if you break back in, we'll send you right back home again. It's like you do not deserve to be here. You've robbed the American taxpayer from someone to have a place to live and someone to have a job instead of you taking that job. Somebody else could have been doing it. People are like, oh, but they're doing the jobs Americans won't do. Bullshit. There's no job that an American won't do. Every American will be like, yeah, I'll go do that job. There's people who would willingly go become a farmer because they just love driving the big farm equipment. They love working with animals and plants, and they love it. They love that get up early, go to sleep late kind of grind. They love it. There are people who would love to work in construction. Construction, if you get a company that's responsible, they pay well. That's some of the better paying jobs in the nation. And yet, we're giving all that labor to less skilled people who are just border hopping, and yeah, they learn how to put up a wall, they learn 5 seconds how to drywall something, and then 10 years down the road, everybody realizes, oh, my house is uneven here, this is screwed up there, and you've been wondering why the quality of houses getting built has been dropping over the decades.
What do you feel about that? I mean, do you feel that is unfair? Do you think it's right? What do you feel?
Well, I know that.
And like what he was saying there, I'm going to back it up there but yeah, like we were saying there about the immigration, if you came here and you are illegal, you should leave. Along with, you came here, like someone else in, like, there shouldn't be a sanctuary city. Sanctuary cities, sanctuary states shouldn't exist for the sole fact that they make ICE's job harder in the sense that getting rid of the criminals is the hard part now. Not getting rid of the legal citizens. ICE wouldn't have to do raids if there were no sanctuary cities. If the sanctuary cities, instead of letting the criminals out and being like, oh, that's an illegal alien, I can't deal with them because then I have to call ICE, and our state's not allowed to do that, or our city's not allowed to do that, then yeah, you got a little problem there. I would rather have it seen where the criminals are arrested, put in jail, and then they get their trial, and then after their trial, ICE shows up and says, hey, time to go. You're going back home, buddy.
That is unfair.
I would much rather see that, and then you wouldn't see ICE raiding.
Well, I know there's a lot to the deportation process, and I hope that we're smart enough as a country that if there are people here that aren't that came here illegally but they're working, there's probably a better way than just deporting them. Find a way to make them citizenship. People that are working and contributing, I think they should be here. Criminals, yeah, you got to deport them. I mean, again, I'm trying to make it sound simple. Obviously not simple, but a video like that, I mean, that sort of that kind of looked like you're tracking down workers and tackling them. There was a woman in there, and if they didn't get Sabrina Carpenter's permission, I don't disagree with her. Don't you? If she disagrees with her,
if they used her music and they used her like actual song, yeah, then yeah, that has to be, because that is something that is protected under levels of copyright and music and the infringement on that. The other one with Theo Von, though, that was just a simple video he just uploaded to social media, and unless he went and copyrighted it ahead of time, he didn't, then they can use it. And that one was fair game. The Sabrina Carpenter one, yeah, you didn't need to put her music in. You could have done other songs. Also, the one with Theo Von where they used Pokemon, I say that, yes, the ones who made that Pokemon audio they used, that the audio they used, whoever owns that probably could come after him for that too. Just saying. There are some things that are fair and some things that I'm like, pick that up.
Tackling innocent people, don't use my music. That's cool too. But I mean, I would much rather, if first of all, it's a lot more complex than a TikTok video or a reel on Instagram. But just like running at someone who's going into a grocery store and tackling them and cuffing them, I don't think that's the right look. I mean, I think it's not quite as simple as get rid of all of them. But there are people that are working, contributing, that need to be here.
Well, they should be here in the legal manner, have the proper work visas, or gain full citizenship. If you really want it, you will figure out how to do it. There's no excuse. I don't care. Be legal or be removed. Like, there's no two ways about it. You be a legal citizen or you be deported.
Very, very complex. I'm happy it's not my choice to make, but yeah, with an artist like that, it happens in campaigns all the time too. If they don't want to use it, don't use it. Respect them as well.
I mean,
and also everybody that they're going after in the raids, the target that they will call them, has a warrant for removal. They are 100% within their legal right to go get that guy, handcuff him, toss him in the back of the vehicle, and take him to the deportation facility. They are in all 100% legal right to kick him out. And if said guy with a warrant is hanging out with other people who are also illegal, guess what? It's ICE. It's their job to remove people who aren't legal in the country, so sorry to those who got in the way. A, don't hang out with criminals. B, don't harbor criminals.
Just finally on that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and C, don't be one yourself, so be legal in the country.
Completely lose control of the southern border in particular. I mean, depending on what figure you believe, as many as 10 million, maybe more people came in illegally.
It's between 10 and 20 million individuals entered the southern border across Biden's 4-year term. 300,000 children that are just missing, that they know came in and just have no idea where they are. The Trump administration is actually finding some of these kids. Just the other week, I heard they recovered another 6,000 missing children. And yeah, some of these were, placed with people who probably did them sexual harm and violated them in ways that are going to need a lot of therapy.
And that's completely, you cannot have that. I mean, as Ronald Reagan said, if you don't have a border, you haven't got a country. And I think we would all agree with that basic premise.
Exactly.
But I thought that Rob gave a nuanced response there, which is probably in line with a lot of Americans, right? I just think most Americans, they probably feel there's a line to be drawn here. If you
Heaven has rules and borders and has a tough entrance. Hell has open borders and anyone can enter. Where do you want to be?
Have been in the country for a long period of time and you are law-abiding and contributing and paying taxes and all the rest of it, and you've had kids there, it's that I think is exercising a lot of the antipathy towards what are otherwise very successful immigration policies.
Yeah,
Piers, the reality is that if you came
Sorry,
here
Valentina,
illegally,
for Omar.
you're
about immigration.
Yeah, Omar.
There's obviously a legitimate debate to have around immigration, but what we are seeing with this administration is this sadism, really taking pleasure in making other people's lives difficult, doing an ASMR video on the sound of chains of immigrants who are being chained up to be shipped overseas to different countries. I mean, that
one was funny.
A lot of these immigrants who are here, they've come here, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's the other one, Omar. They don't have to be a part of these videos if they self-deport. Anyone who self-deports gets that dignity of leaving in a nice manner and is able to get rewarded for leaving. Like, I'm on the fence about paying people who don't belong here to get out. But if it's that versus you staying here, stealing a place to live, stealing a job, I think I just want you to go. Get out. Leave.
Illegally, technically. But many of them come as children, as 5-year-olds, and they live their entire lives in this country. They don't have any other home.
And then they should have gained citizenship.
Environment. These are obviously people who should be staying here. And the sheer cruelty.
Already being here, already being in the country, and already showing all this evidence of things you've done in your life. You know, prove that you volunteer at places and prove that you do certain work and prove that you're a good member of society, someone who is capable of enjoying American life as it is. And then, yeah, maybe you'll get to stay.
With the ways these raids are taking place, kidnapping people off the streets, often leaving children stranded or using children to lure parents out of a house in order to get a hold of them. In many cases, arresting American citizens on suspicion that they might be undocumented immigrants. And you have people dying in ICE custody. This is the scandal. This isn't about the policy debate.
No one has died in ICE custody. People died in ICE custody under Obama, though.
Debate, but the level of sadism
and Biden,
xenophobia, and
people were in cages in both those terms
has been utterly despicable and uncalled for. And you see it in the comments that you've had earlier on with the representative from the Trump administration that you had on the show, saying, what is your message to immigrants or to the Muslim community or whatever? And they have no answer to any of it. All they have is doubling down on cruelty in the name of national security, and that's no way to run a country.
I'll just add to Omar's
I definitely have an answer.
We were promised by the Trump regime that he would go after violent criminals.
Trump regime.
Their own data.
That's the other one. That's how you know which side that they're automatically on, is when they call it a regime. The fascist administration. Like, it's just the Trump Republican or Trump MAGA administration. Either way, you can put it there. It's not a regime. It's not Trump's Third Reich.
From the DOJ shows that
like,
here in
come
Chicago,
on.
where I live, more than 97% of the people.
That explains it. That dude's in Chicago.
70% of the.
That sucks. Maybe you don't live in a sanctuary city that just lets people out on the streets. Also, I bet you some of them do have criminal records, or they would have a criminal record, but the state purposely went in and they're like, I'm an illegal citizen. You have to let me go. And then they just do. I bet you that happens often. I bet you they get in, they start processing, and they're like, we don't know how to process this dude. Which, in my mind, that would mean you're going to sit in a cell for a while until we deport your ass.
People in North Carolina, no criminal record whatsoever. ProPublica found that they have rounded up and arrested 170 U.S. citizens. These are people who are actual citizens, but because they're of Latino ethnicity, they're being targeted. Another study by the ACLU found that pregnant women are being rounded up and suffering miscarriages because they're being tortured in these ICE gulags. None of this is due process. None of this is what Americans asked for. If we want true safety,
that's all made up.
It's going to require upholding the Constitution.
This dude is lying. He's making things up.
Okay, well,
no one is dying in ICE detainment facilities. I'm sure if that happened, that would make international news and it would be worldwide. Everyone would know about it. It would be the biggest story on the planet. But I've heard absolutely zero true stories about anyone who died in any ICE facilities, or even was more than just like, oh, that guy, he was handled a little rough by the police in there, and the ICE agents in there handled him roughly. He deserves to be handled gently.
Valentina, you're going to find out what the Texan people
okay,
think
sure,
of you in
whatever.
the 31st district at the ballot box, which is how it should be in a democratic society. And look, here's my pledge to you. Here's my pledge to you.
I hope they all vote for her.
The people of Texas, a state that I love and have spent a lot of time in. If it turns out they're all as bigoted as you are, then you'll win. And if you win, I'll get you back.
I want to move to her district and vote for her.
If you lose, you're never coming back. Fair deal?
Yes, let's make one thing very clear. Your team are the ones that begged me to be on the show, not the other way around. I have hundreds of millions of views. I am actually the only.
We literally sent you one email and you said yes. We sent you. Just to be clear. Just to be clear. I don't know. Just to be clear. Stop talking.
Come on.
We sent you one email and you immediately said yes. That's not a beg.
Yes.
That's not a beg.
It is a beg.
That's a request for you to come on this program.
Yeah, I agree with Pierce on this one. That's just a request.
Honestly,
I wanted to come speak
I couldn't
with you.
believe.
I wanted to hear the British accent.
Let me
I wanted
speak.
to say hello
Let me
to the British
speak.
lads.
Let me speak. I couldn't believe that you were as vile and bigoted as it seemed, but it turns out you were. So here's my pledge to you. Like I said, if you win, and the people of Texas like your vile, bigoted rhetoric,
you're just a puppet for the establishment.
Otherwise, we're never going to see you again. So good luck in your election. Trust me.
We're going to see her again. I want to move to, like I said, I want to move to Texas just to elect her.
Trust me when I say this.
And other reasons, but
trust me when I say this. The people in the 31st district of Texas are not going to vote for you because you're a vile bigot. And that is a fact, and you can take it to the bank.
About President Trump, Piers.
He said that he did say the same thing about Trump in 2016, and then Trump won in 2016. Is Piers Morgan going to make a double blunder and do it again a decade later with Valentina? I think so. I think he's pulling the same thing again.
Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you all very much for an interesting debate.
That was fantastic. I love that episode. I gotta say, I already enjoyed Valentina at the start of this, and I bet you figured that one out. However, at the end, I love her even more. This is even greater. Like, everything she has today. She does have a lot of learning still to do. I will fully admit that there are things these guys are talking about, like the invasion of Iraq in 2003, where she was 4 years old at the time. I was 6. So, yeah, I don't have much years on her. I don't have a ton more knowledge, but I do have the ability to look things up and at least take into that account, go read stories and see videos from veterans and people who participated in those events and whatnot. But yeah, this was a fantastic panel. I love it when Pierce gets these guys together, guys and gals. But yeah, anyways, I will spoil the video later. We got another one on Sam Papa. So we will come back and you'll see me later with that one.